Well, good morning, Plymouth. Thanks for joining us for Discover Plymouth. Great day to be inside the Field House, isn't it? Great event today with over 90 booths for you to visit. Lots of businesses, organizations, far side of the wall. Lots of city departments that have booths here to tell you a little bit more about what they do. My name is Dave Kaiser from CCX Media. Happy to be along with the event again this year to help move things through as you get the state of the city, and also after that a little question and answer period with the mayor. But without further ado, I would like to introduce the mayor, Jeff Wosje. He has a lot to say about the success of the city in the past year and what's coming forward. Please join me in welcoming Mayor Jeff Wosje.
Thank you, Dave. I'm excited to be here today and give the state of the city. Good morning. Thank you for joining me here for our 2023 State of the City address. I'm proud to report that the state of the city of Plymouth is strong. But before I go into that, I just want to introduce some officials and elected official city council members that are here today. We have Councilmember Jim Willis and Councilmember Jim Davis over here. We have Councilmember Clark Greger right here. We have Representative Jenny Cleavorn that's here. I believe we have Councilmember Elise McGregor, and then Councilmember Julie Pointner as well. We also have representing Irene Fernando, Bill Emery from her Chief of Staff. So welcome here as well. So, you know, one of the things I wanted to comment on today is what does good government look like? Because when I watch the news, it often feels like our society has become politically polarized, that political dysfunction has become the norm, that the loudest voices in the room seem to be the extremes on either side of an issue, which is discouraging. And a majority of people have become so disenchanted with how government works that they've just tuned out. So I've come to ask myself that question. What does good government look like? What happens when we take into account the 80% in the middle who trusted their elected officials to represent them? Today, I'd like to focus on Plymouth, those who provide the city to provide services, amenity, infrastructure to bolster the quality of life for our residents. And I want to answer the question, what does good government look like? To better understand our city's shared values, help us make informed decisions, engage city services and satisfaction, we recently completed a city community survey. Key findings from our survey show that 95% of residents rated the overall quality of life in Plymouth as excellent or good. The survey also found that residents prioritize safety and rate it positively and are pleased with local government officials and government performance. Residents highly value natural environment and parks and recreation opportunities and praise the city's strong economy, which makes Plymouth a desirable community. I'm happy with these results, and I'll touch more on those throughout this address. They reaffirm the importance of Plymouth focus on investing in quality of life. The city works diligently to provide excellent park, abundant recreation opportunities, well-maintained infrastructure, quality developments that attract people to Plymouth, and top-notch fire and police services. I'm excited to talk about some of those accomplishments we've had over the last year and recognize standout individuals who have contributed to our success and share what's on the horizon in Plymouth. As I talk about the makeup of good government, I'll begin with elections because there's nothing more fundamental to us than elections are. And we have 3 new Plymouth City Council members during 2022 general election, and I'm honored to have been re-elected to a second term as mayor. I want to say congratulations to Julie Peterson, Julie Pointner, and Clark Greger. The 4 of us began our new 4-year terms in January. Thank you. The general election was preceded by a nationwide redistricting process, which was required every 10 years following a federal census. New ward and precinct boundaries were drawn to help rebalance the populations in each of Plymouth's 4 wards. In addition to administering fair elections, good government prioritizes quality services for all residents. In the recent community survey, 91% residents gave excellent or good ratings on the overall customer service provided by city employees. And at least 7 in 10 residents gave high rankings to the city for being open and transparent, treating all residents fairly, being honest, acting on the best interests of the community. I'm proud to live in a community that prioritizes these shared values. A total of 94% of our residents would also recommend living in Plymouth to someone else who asks. Thank you. Plymouth has a long track record offering high-quality services and infrastructure while practicing good stewardship of tax dollars. Due to careful long-term planning with 10-year financial forecasts, the city's financial position remains strong and stable. Residents have historically received great value for their tax dollars in Plymouth. We are proud that Plymouth continues to have the lowest tax rate of Hennepin County cities of 10,000 or more. To me, that is just an amazing accomplishment, and we've done it for a long time. Plymouth continued growth for demand in city services and amenities. The overall tax levy increase was 6.5%. However, the cost of the 2023 levy increase was offset by Plymouth's tax base. In 2022, Plymouth's tax value added more than $157 million in market value in Plymouth from new construction. So what that meant was, despite inflation and increased costs, Plymouth tax rate decreased in 2023. Residents with an average home value with a home in Plymouth pay about $400 less per year in city taxes than if they lived in a similar city. And during that recent community survey, 7 in 10 residents gave high marks for the value of services for taxes paid, which was higher than the national average. Additionally, 92% rated the overall quality of parks and recreation opportunities as excellent and good. The availability of award-winning parks, trails, and amenities is part of what draws people to Plymouth. The city recently earned 2 accolades from the Minnesota Recreation and Parks Association. The Northwest Greenway was selected as the winner of the Tommy Johnson Award, one of the highest honors in the fields of park and recreation. This award recognizes projects that are innovative, futuristic, creative, and revolutionary. The Northwest Greenway preserves more than 300 acres of natural wildlife with miles of paved trails, looping and walking and biking in an open-air pavilion. Those are over 300 acres naturally preserved that'll never be developed in Plymouth. Now, I mentioned the first award, but the second award from the MRPA was given to Plymouth project manager Sonia Rippey. Sonia, thank you for coming up and being here today. Sonia received this year's Leadership Award, is given in recognition of outstanding leadership and service to the parks and recreation field. Sonia has worked diligently on projects such as the Northwest Greenway, Dunkirk Trail, Nature Canyon, and numerous other projects throughout the city. She is organized, dedicated, and keeps the city on track. I say congratulations to Sonia and all our Park and Recreation Department for these achievements. When it comes to park development, feedback from residents is vital. A renovation project planned for the Meadows Park in 2024 is set to feature the first ever cricket pitch in Plymouth, as well as a dedicated sledding hill, pickleball courts, soccer fields, trails, and more. These amenities are driven by requests from residents and I'm excited to see these plans come to fruition. I also look forward to the development of Schmidt Woods Park, which includes beautiful maple trees on land that was generously donated by the Schmidt family. The park is set to include an all-wheels skill path, spots for hammocks, trails, play structures, a shelter, and what I'm really excited about, a sugar house that'll offer educational opportunities about maple syrup production. Throughout the last year, the city has also continued on eliminating a variety of gaps in trails and sidewalks network throughout Plymouth to allow easier access to area destinations. And when it comes to destinations, the Plymouth Community Center has become the place to be. We are thrilled to celebrate the completion of the major renovation and expansion project with a ribbon cutting last July. If you haven't been here before, be sure to check out all that the community center has to offer. 2 gymnasiums, an indoor playground that's 7,000 square feet, a walking track, a sensory room, art gallery, ballroom, theater, music rooms, classrooms, conference and event spaces, and much, much more. And despite being open only partially for the second half or first half of 2022, while phase 2 is being completed, the community saw more than 366,000 visitors went through here. That was just amazing. The Plymouth Ice Center continues to see a large number of hockey players and fans as well. They recently hosted the USA National High School Hockey Tournament in March in partnership with the Wosje Youth Hockey Association. The tournament drew 48 teams throughout the country coming to Plymouth. That had an estimated economic impact to the city, to our hotels, to our dining, shopping, and more of $1.3 million that came into our community from that. That was amazing. Another key feature of good local government is thoughtful planning. As Plymouth approaches build-out, the city continues to look for redevelopment opportunities to revitalize aging commercial areas, better utilize space, and bring vibrancy to the city. Plymouth has completed small area studies in City Center, the area mostly northeast of Highway 55 and Vicksburg Lane, as well as the area around County Road 73 and Highway 55. The studies are aimed at exploring ways to improve walkability, bikeability, housing, and transit opportunities with the ultimate goal of facilitating a more coordinated redevelopment of the area. Plymouth's Community and Economic Development Department plays a key role in each development and redevelopment, including inception, plan reviewing, permitting, inspections. And they've been busy this past year. They've issued more than 10,000 permits, including 101 new housing permits. Additionally, over 21,000 inspections took place last year to ensure sound construction. A highly visible future redevelopment site is the Prudential Financial Campus on Bass Lake Road and 494. The 75-acre site was sold last fall, and developers have been working on plans for the site, which is expected to include a mix of retail, housing, and office components. The city continues to see a demand for housing. 176-unit apartment building known as Bassett Creek Apartments has started construction off Highway 55 right behind Bachman's. The Four Seasons Mall site has also undergone some big changes this past year. The city purchased the property in 2021 to help facilitate redevelopment. And I'm absolutely thrilled to say that that blighted and vacant mall is no longer. It's been successfully demolished, and now the site is ready for redevelopment. We continue to see interest in other mixed-use redevelopment sites that include residential and commercial spaces. The Enclave development off Highway 169 and Bass Lake Road is set to include a 220-unit apartment building and about 10,000 square feet of commercial and retail space, which includes the existing gas station. The former Dundee Nursery site off Highway 55 and Rockford Road has undergone some major changes. Following the demolition of the original building, Twin City Orthopedics broke ground on a new campus this year, which is set to open in the fall. And a future apartment building called Parkera is slated for construction in the future. The city's Community and Economic Development Department received an award from the Minnesota chapter of American Planning and Association for its work to help plan and redevelop this challenging site. Adding to Plymouth's robust manufacturing and R&D innovation market, Minnesota Rubber and Plastics, a leader in material compound and development and custom thermoplastic components, opened a 9,000 square foot innovation R&D center last year. Merchology, a promotional products and corporate branded apparel company, opened a 90,000 square foot headquarters on Highway 55 and Niagara Lane. In addition to the commercial and industrial investments, Plymouth celebrated opening of a variety of new restaurants and eateries this past year. These include Ceviche, which serves seafood and Peruvian cuisine in City Center. The Fox and Pantry, which offers bakery, cocktails, coffee, items, and specialty classes. Ice Dreams, a rolled ice cream parlor. I never heard of that until they opened up. Abershon Palace, a new dining place venue, and People's Organic, which offers coffee and locally sourced food. We're proud to be home to a robust business community. A total of 91% of residents ranked Plymouth overall economic health as excellent or good during the recent community survey, and 87 ranked Plymouth as an excellent or good place to work. Our strong commercial sectors offer top quality, high-paying jobs in manufacturing, medtech, and industries, and also gives Plymouth the ranking of Minnesota's fourth largest economy in the state. To support the development of homes, restaurants, and businesses, Plymouth continues to invest in high-quality infrastructure. In the recent community survey, nearly 8 in 10 ranked the quality of utility infrastructure in Plymouth as excellent or good. To improve traffic flow, mobility, safety, and transit efficiency, the city has been planning for improvements to the area of Highway 55 and County Road 73, which is known as Station 73 Transit Regional Improvement Program, or TRIP. We've purchased a key piece of land that will allow us to realign County Road 73 south of Highway 55, and the city was also awarded a $15 million federal RAISE grant to help facilitate the improvements. The project will add a pedestrian tunnel under Highway 55 for safer crossings, paved connections to regional trail systems, and bus platforms along both sides of Highway 55. We're also excited for the implementation soon to be of all-day bus service between Plymouth and Minneapolis, which is expected to begin in 2025 or 2026. Now, following the jurisdictional transfer of County Road 47 from Hennepin County to city ownership, the city renamed County Road 47 to Jancata Trail and began a reconstruction project. The first phase from County Road 101 to Peony Lane was completed last year, and the second phase from Peony to Vicksburg Lane is underway this year. The project includes safety improvements such as pedestrian underpass, turn lanes, shoulders, improved sight lines. Timing for the final segment will depend on funding. The city's requested state bonding funds to help with these vital safety improvements. A major reconstruction is also planned for Gleason Lake Drive this year, from Vicksburg Lane to Carlson Parkway. The project includes water main replacement, road reconstruction, concrete curb and gutter, trail construction, and stormwater and drainage improvements. The project also includes fully reconstructing this existing five-legged intersection at Vicksburg Lake and Gleason Lake, which will be converted to a roundabout to improve traffic flow and safety. The Minnesota Department of Transportation has also started a big project on our eastern side of the city. with the replacement of the Rockford Road Bridge over Highway 169. Construction is underway and is expected to wrap up this fall. While this isn't a city project, we're thrilled to see the MnDOT make major investments into the infrastructure that will benefit area residents in Plymouth as well as motorists. Now, not all Public Works Department projects involve visible infrastructure such as roads and bridges. Crews work diligently, often behind the scenes, to make sure we have safe, reliable drinking water and well-maintained sanitary sewer and storm sewer systems. The city recently received a $2 million community grant from the Environmental Protection Agency for an upgrade at our Zachary water treatment plant. The money will be used to install equipment that will increase efficiency, help reclaim water, and improve overall water conservation. The project is expected to begin next year, and the plant will remain operational throughout the whole process. Along with providing drinking water, the Public Works Department maintains underground infrastructure. And I recently came across a post on Nextdoor from a resident in the Schmidt Lakes Estates neighborhood who witnessed an issue with a stormwater system. It was in front of his house on a cold winter night. He said there was about a foot of water and more was rapidly pooling in front. He wrote to praise the Public Works crew that came out that night that were on call. He said he had the luxury of watching them from the comfort of his warm living room. He went on to write, "Public Works folks get pummeled with complaints during the winter. We also get a few compliments from time to time." But I want to thank and extend my thanks publicly for taking care of us. While these two crew members, Eric Christensen and Joe Rash, weren't able to be here today, I would still like to acknowledge them. Thank you, Eric and Joe, and the rest of our dedicated Public Works for the hard work you do behind the scenes. They come out and fix water main breakage. They do the work. They bolster our quality of life. We appreciate your service. In addition to Public Works crews, our dedicated public safety staff are also working on cold, dark nights and ready to respond at a moment's notice. I believe quality of life begins with feeling safe in our community. And Plymouth is fortunate to have what I call the best first responders in the city. Plymouth Police Department continues to work diligently to invest cases and solve them, promote crime prevention, and build connections in our community. It shows. Finding from the recent community survey featured positive feedback about our public safety service. In Plymouth, in fact, 91% of our residents rated Plymouth services as excellent or good, and 96% of residents said they feel safe in their neighborhoods. Speaking of neighborhoods, the police department has taken one of its successful community engagement initiatives on the road. The program, Community Conversations with Police, offers opportunities for police staff to visit with neighborhoods, cultural groups, faith-based organizations, nonprofits, and more. The efforts have encouraged meaningful dialogue, helped answer questions, and allowed the department to more effectively serve the community. When it comes to public safety, serving the community can mean a variety of different things. I'd like to take a few moments to spotlight some staff whose service has made a positive impact. I had recently seen another post on Nextdoor from a resident in the West Medicine Lake neighborhood about a horrible night when her 15-year-old blind and deaf dog, Roxy, who needed to go outside on a cold winter night at 2:30 in the morning, was suddenly nowhere to be found. She called police for help, and police officer Adam Magee arrived to help her search. Thankfully, Roxy was found safe. The resident wrote that she couldn't express how truly thankful she was for the help, and she wanted to recognize him for going above and beyond and for showing thoughtfulness and kindness. Officer Magee wasn't able to join us here today, but I want to publicly thank him for the excellent customer service he epitomizes from our police department. I'd also like to recognize other staff who were instrumental in bringing to justice a grieving family after a senseless and tragic incident, the fatal shooting of community member and baseball coach Jay Boughton. Plymouth Police Captain Mike Reed and Detective Dave Anderson are here today. As many of you recall, Jay Boughton was shot and killed in July of 2021 on Highway 169 while he was on his way home from a baseball game with his 15-year-old son. The suspect fled the scene, and as you can see from this picture, left little clues or information detectives to work on. Finding the suspect was going to be like finding a needle in a haystack. That was the initial thought I had the day after. But our dedicated investigators spent about 2,000 collective hours over 2 months reviewing evidence, following up on tips, and finally locating the suspect, which led to the successful arrest and extradition of the suspect to Minnesota, where he is eventually convicted and sentenced to life in prison. While the investigation involved many personnel, these two staff, along with Mike Pasick and Nick Benish, who were unable to make it here today, were part of a team that was recognized with the Distinguished Service Award from the Minnesota Chiefs of Police Association. I couldn't recognize them during last year's State of the City event because the case had not yet gone to court. So I'm delighted to be able to acknowledge them today. And on behalf of the entire community, Mike and Dave, thank you for your outstanding work. Thank you, Mike. That truly was amazing police work that they did. In other public safety news, results from the community survey show that 90% of residents rank fire prevention education in Plymouth as excellent or good. Plymouth residents are appreciative of the overall services provided by the Plymouth Fire Department. Plymouth fire staff are very excited for the completion of the long-awaited fire station projects. Last August, we celebrated the opening of the newly renovated Fire Station 3 with a ribbon cutting, or rather, more accurately, a fire hose decoupling, and open house. I'm pleased to announce that we're planning to celebrate the completion of Fire Station 2 in a similar fashion on June 10th. So stay tuned for more information about that event on the city website, newsletter, and social media. These are two state-of-the-art facilities, and they're already in use by our firefighters, and are helping crews provide excellent service to residents. They offer better training spaces, prioritize firefighter health and safety, and support the department's transition to a hybrid staffing model with 24-hour shifts. While we've added more career firefighters to Plymouth in the past few years to help reduce response times and meet demand for service, the Plymouth Fire Department is actively recruiting part-time on-call firefighters. So if you're thinking you might be interested in serving others by becoming a part-time firefighter, I encourage you to please find the fire department booth here today, ask questions, and apply. And speaking of firefighters, there's one in particular that was recently in the spotlight. Mark Elben, would you please come up on stage? Mark was named a top finalist for a national award, the Emergency Vehicle Technician of the Year Award, and was recognized in a publication of Firehouse Magazine, one of 240 nominations throughout the country. Mark was a finalist for his proactive approach to fleet maintenance and testing, as well as his strong work ethic and positive attitude. Both as mechanic and firefighter, Mark keeps Plymouth fire trucks and equipment in top condition, and he makes sure they're ready to use at a moment's notice. Congratulations to Mark for this well-deserved recognition. Plymouth is so lucky to have such extraordinary people who make up the fabric of this community. We have tremendous firefighters police officers, park staff, and public works crew who go above and beyond to provide excellent service. We have caring, dedicated residents who invest in their community by supporting local businesses, volunteering, and participating in civic activities. We value and maintain our parks, trails, roads, water, our sewer infrastructure. We prioritize public safety and livability. We practice sound financial management, and ultimately, we strive for excellence. It's what all of us in Plymouth has come to know and expect. So the answer to my question, what does good government look like, is simple. Good government looks like Plymouth, and that's something we can all be proud of. I want to thank you for coming out to discover Plymouth today. Please stick around as Dave Kaiser from CX Media and I do a little Q&A session and enjoy today's events. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll let the mayor sit down for a second, get a drink of water after that presentation. Great job, Mayor. He was here early this morning, what, about 4:30? Okay, about 8:30, a run-through, so fantastic job. Just to mention, after we're done here on the stage, which will be about another 20 minutes, the mayor and the council members are going to be right down the row here at some of those booths. So if you have questions, comments, some feedback for the city, they would love to hear from you. Further down that far side of the field house, that is where all the city departments are. So you mentioned the fire department, public safety, all down that side, so you can ask some questions and find out a little bit more about some of the services that they provide. Mayor, a few of the things you touched on, we want to take a few minutes just to dive into a little bit deeper. Again, we might answer some questions, and we've got some specific sites that you might know about. You mentioned small area studies that the city has recently completed, City Center being one of those, and also the area around County 73 and Highway 55. First, an overview. Why is this approach so important for the city at this time? The city has certainly evolved over the years.
Yeah, it certainly has, Dave. I'll get into that for a second, but since we started out, we have some more elected officials that have come in. I can see they're doing selfies in the back there.
We need our camera up here to get a camera of you taking
that's
selfies.
Right,
that would be good.
We have Representative Ned Carroll here, former city council member. We have our Hennepin County Commissioner Kevin Anderson, and we have our Senator Bonnie Westland. So welcome them here. Thank you for coming. You know, believe it or not, Dave, Plymouth is actually almost built out. We've been focused on housing development for, I can't even think how many years, 20, 30 years. Plymouth has been growing with new housing development, but we're actually almost out of land. And so as we begin to think and focus on what do we do, how do we keep our city vibrant, how do we keep it active, how do we keep it energized, we are turning from housing development into redevelopment opportunities. So it's really looking throughout the city where we have underutilized properties or things that can be reutilized to bring that energy back in those areas. So, example, City Center. City Center was developed really about 25 years ago. And if you believe it, the original plan on that, one of the objectives, goals, was to create a walkability where someone could park and be able to walk anywhere. But what happened was it got developed parcel by parcel, and we ended up with parking lots and stores. And so the council and the city decided to re-look at that, reimagine, you know, what can we do to try and create that walkability? What can we do to reinvigorate that space? And so we did a lot of community engagement to see what the community wanted to have there. We've done a lot of design work. We've done little things with our infrastructure that people don't even notice. So last year we reconstructed Vicksburg Lane in front of where Cub Foods and was 34th, 35th in there. And people don't realize now there's pedestrian medians in there where people crossing Vicksburg can stop if there's if they get caught in traffic. The curbs are bumped out so people have better sight lines in order to cross Vicksburg. There's less space in the lanes to cross there. So a number of little improvements that we made to increase pedestrian safety and increase that walkability. And now we're looking at the same thing for Plymouth Boulevard, redesigning that road in front of City Hall and going down so that we improve traffic flow at the same time we can increase pedestrian safety. So how do we increase pedestrian safety, bikeability, and later on the council is going to be looking at allowing housing to come into the city center area.
Any rough idea on a time frame? I'm sure the residents are thinking, well, this is going to happen next year, correct? It'll all be different? Not so fast, right? It takes a little time, especially when you're dealing with property owners, landowners.
Right, and the city can encourage that development by doing these infrastructure improvements. One of the things in the feedback we heard is that people want to have like a community gathering place. So designing a community gathering place, improving traffic flow, those are the things that encourages developers to come in and do work in Plymouth. But we envision this is going to be a 10 to 20 year process before this gets done. So it's going to happen slowly.
The important part is the city needs to set the stage and be proactive, and it sounds like that is indeed happening. Let's move down to another small area, County Road 73 and Highway 55. Nice focal point of the city. What are some plans there?
Yeah, and I really want to go back to the nexus where this all started, because in 2014, the city asked Met Council to look at Highway 55 as a potential transit corridor. So what that meant is, whether it would make sense to have BRT, which is bus rapid transit, on Highway 55. And when they did that study, one of the things that popped out to everybody was that highway BRT had the highest reverse commute, meaning people coming out from Minneapolis to Plymouth and Golden Valley because of the jobs that are out here. So that had their highest reverse commute, and so it started to get some legs in a regional solicitation through TAB, which is Met Council. There was an award for all-day bus service to start, as I had mentioned. That'll come out in 2025 or 2026. So we're going to have bus service every 15 minutes coming on Plymouth, out to Plymouth. So really it's just like, all right, how do we facilitate this? How can we help improve this to make it successful? So we started this small area study around our park and ride, which is on County Road 73. And that has resulted in acquiring some property. So right now, if you go down 73, which is Zachary Lane, that swings over into Old County Road 115. Then you have to make a left on 115 to go to Highway 55. This will just straighten out the road, so 73 will go directly to Highway 55. So there'll be a direct connection, and it'll be much safer. Then we'll have bus platforms on either side of the road, so instead of buses pulling into the park and ride, they can just pull off to the side. So those buses can go much faster and get down than they would otherwise. And then finally, safely getting across, connecting the trails, being able to get across Highway 55 safely by utilizing a tunnel.
Let's talk a little bit about the funding part of this. Obviously, to do something like this, you need dollars, and you've had some partners come to the table. Tell us about that.
Right. So as I mentioned, we got a RAISE grant, and that's a federal grant. I have to give a shout out to Senator Amy Klobuchar because she really championed our ability to get that RAISE grant. RAISE grants traditionally are very, very competitive throughout the whole country. It's very, very difficult to get one. And so we were awarded a $15 million RAISE grant. If we didn't get that grant this is probably about a $26 or $27 million total project. Without that, this would be a 20-year plan of trying to do it. So getting that federal funds have allowed us to really jumpstart the development of this whole project.
All right, let's move ahead. Let's talk a little bit about public safety. And you saw some of the great officers, firefighters up here earlier being recognized. Police and fire department are important topics for a lot of residents, and we know many police departments in the metro are talking about Do we have enough police officers? Bring us up to date in the city of Plymouth. How do the numbers look there? And then also let's talk a little bit about fire safety and again the ongoing projects.
Right.
You mentioned it during the State of the City about some great things happening in the fire stations.
Right, and police staffing is concerned for every community. And it's not just all the results of the George Floyd and everything that happened with that. We have a lot of baby boomers who are in our police department. And those baby boomers are retiring. And it's happening in private business, it's happening in our government, in our departments, it's happening across the board. People have reached a point they're retiring. So that's really, for us, for Plymouth, has been the main cause, is just police officers deciding to retire. So we have, we can have 82 sworn officers. Right now we're down about 8, and those are retirements that have happened in our city. And so we've just been actively doing a lot more recruiting, and we are far better, I can tell you, we're far better off than almost any other city community that I know of out there in terms of police staffing. But we've done some exciting things to try and address it as well. You know, we started a cadet program, and so that's where we will hire, we have 2 cadets working right now. They started in January. And they work as community service officers at the same time they're going to getting their 2-year public safety degree or policing degree. And so we support and provide that tuition reimbursement for them so that they are able to hopefully add on to the staff on there. Another thing that we're doing is a pathways to policing. And so that is really looking at probably people that typically and historically have not gone into policing to consider that as a vocation. And there's similar benefits that we have for that as well to help support them to get into the policing environment.
Wonderful opportunities there. All right, let's hop over to fire and talk a little bit about it. You mentioned it earlier, some of the great work that's been happening in the fire stations, and that has dual benefits. For the residents, obviously, big benefits, but also for the firefighters and encouraging people to become firefighters.
Yeah, absolutely. And those new fire stations have also been a good recruiting tool for us in trying to get new. It's quite a difference. You know, in the last few years, as I had mentioned, we have gone to a blend of full-time firefighters, and those stations are staffed 24/7. So there's always a crew ready to go at any time a call comes in. Before that, but we also have our paid on-call that augments into those full-time firefighters. But before that, we had just strictly paid on-call firefighters. So part-time firefighters that filled shifts, and they would have to come into the station at night. Those stations we had never were used to have beds or accommodate people to sleep in or really kind of use them to live in. So they were antiquated by today's standards. They didn't meet the needs of what our current fire needed. And so we actually rebuilt the new ones while we kept them in place. They had to stay in service. We couldn't shut our fire department down for a year and redo this.
That would not be too popular.
No, that would not have been popular.
Also, exercise areas. We've had a chance through CCX Media go into some of the buildings as well, and it's just amazing. Again, they spend a lot of time there, and they do have opportunities to stay fit and be ready to go out on any service call.
Right, Dave, and we really promote our staff, especially our fire and our police, to be healthy, to exercise, to work out, and to be in good condition. So in addition to those workout rooms at the fire stations, they now have kitchens and living spaces and bedroom facilities to utilize. That's also what's important is that as the trucks come in and go out, there's a room right off of there, because we found recently that when our fire comes back, they have carcinogens on there from the fire that they've been working on. And it's been discovered that those carcinogens can lead to cancer at some point. Potential is there. And so we have like a decontamination room where they can take off those, and none of that gets into the living space. It's contained in one room so they can be washed and decontaminated. So that's an important addition.
A lot that happens behind the scenes at the fire stations. Again, thanks everyone for coming, spending some time with us. We've got one more question, and then we're going to send the mayor council members down to their booths just down the way here, and you're welcome to ask some questions. You mentioned some of our folks from the state capitol that are here, and you've had the opportunity with others from the city to pay some visits to those at the state capitol. Tell us a little why advocating for funding or special legislation has become something important for Plymouth and really for other cities throughout the state.
Right, Dave. And I think Plymouth is really blessed to have been a very wealthy community. And as part of that, part of our obligation to the whole region and state is paying into that. But also, we have regional projects that take place in Plymouth that I don't think is fair for Plymouth taxpayers to bear the burden of it solely. So we have, for instance, Chancada Trail, which is formerly County Road 47. That's a $30 million project. So Hennepin County has contributed $5 million to that. I don't think Plymouth should bear the brunt of $25 million, especially when north of Chancada Trail is Maple Grove, to the west is Medina, as well as Corcoran. So it's heavily utilized by other residents from other communities and shouldn't just come on Plymouth. So actually, Councilmember Carroll is carrying the bill down at the state legislature for $20 million of bonding to help with that. And so we're hoping this legislative session we get that. And then we had talked about the Prudential site. So Prudential building is on 3 county roads, Bass Lake, Northwest, and then there's 494, and now the Chancada Trail, which was formerly a county road. We're anticipating about 1,000 units or more of new housing on that site, as well as retail development and office or light manufacturing. And so that's going to create a tremendous amount of concentrated traffic in that area. The intersections there need to be completely redone. And so I don't think it's fair that Plymouth taxpayers bear that burden. Hennepin County has already told us they just don't have the funding to make those improvements. And those improvements have to be made. There's not a choice. Or it will be safe. The intersections just won't be safe. So we're asking for a special TIF district to get established down at the state legislature so we can use the future increased value of that development, pay for those site or those intersection improvements, so the Plymouth taxpayer doesn't bear the burden of that.
All right, keep your eyes out for that. Again, more information about the city and these projects, plymouthmn.gov on a regular basis. Before we end, Mayor, I think there's a behind-the-scenes crew here that we should say thank you to. Your communication staff at the city have done a bang-up job. Communication staff people, just wave your hands a little bit. Yep. Emily right there. Kara over here. Elise was running the teleprompter earlier. Brian taking pictures everywhere. So they really helped you out today.
Yeah, and I'd also like to thank our Park and Rec department that put on this whole event, this Discover Plymouth event. This is a heavy lift. They were here all day yesterday. It was 90 degrees in this dome yesterday that everyone had to work on to get this set up. So they did great work. Thank you to our communication staff, our Park and Rec, and everyone for making this event happen.
All right, so your next mission today, if you'd like to talk to the mayor and the council members, you can head right down the way here. They're going to set up in the next couple booths here. Other activities happening. Opposite side, the sound level has gone up. There's kids and inflatables and balls on that other side, so head over there and take a look and enjoy. 90 booths we have throughout the field house there. Upstairs and outside at the main entrance, there's a food truck out there. Rock Elm, I think, is here. And also some of the trucks from the city that the kids can go up and take a look at and touch. So again, Mayor, thanks for all the information today, for a great presentation. Thank you all for coming. Enjoy the rest of the day here at Discover Plymouth.